Hello everyone, this is Allie Wolf, the Chief Economist with Zonda, here to provide you the builder updates for June. As a reminder, this comes from a survey of division presidents that Zonda puts out every month. And for the June results, I'm going to set up the theme as shifts. We've definitely seen some shifts in the market, but for the most part, the shifts really go back to the return of some seasonality. Housing normally has a spring selling season when sales are a lot stronger then, and then as families want to get settled before school, housing starts to just shift into a more normal gear. I wouldn't say we're in a normal pace yet. Housing is still very, very hot, but as you'll hear throughout today's update, there have definitely been some shifts in terms of overall activity and overall traffic. So to start, 46% of builders reported that they did have sales that were flat on a month-over-month basis. 42% of builders said that sales had slowed. Now, layering in an expectations component, when we talked to the builders, there was an interesting result where builders were equally as likely to say that sales had exceeded their expectations as they were to say sales have slowed, and the point of which they've slowed is actually a bit worrisome. The bulk of the responses on our expectation question, though, showed that builders either said sales were as expected or they were a little bit slower, but it wasn't worrisome. 4% of builders reported a month-over-month increase in traffic. That is a very low number, especially when 60% of builders reported that traffic had decreased month-over-month. But a few important notes. The first is it's hard to have traffic when your model home is closed. So when builders don't have much inventory to sell, really the natural result is that you're not going to have as many people going out. Same with just overall gapping out. We know some builders are in this gap out period where they don't have as many homes to sell, so just traffic is going to fall naturally. As I break it out by percents, I would say about 80% of this is related to builders on the supply side or them intentionally slowing sales. 20% is a little bit of shift on the overall consumer activity. Now, as we look at overall sales, all of the numbers that we're looking at are really subject to builders intentionally limiting how many homes they sell per month. This is a common theme. We've talked about this before. June was another month where 91% of builders are controlling their sales one way or another. 91%, that's another number that relates to pricing. So we have 91% of builders that reported they raised prices month over month from May to June. That is down from 96% last month, though as you can tell, 91% is still a very high number of builders that continue to report their price increases. An interesting dynamic is that we've seen a little bit of a shift to the left. So if you have been watching some of these videos, you know that I've talked about how price increases have been shifting to the right, where they've become more expensive. Right now, we have 42% of all the price increases are $10,000 plus. That is down from 57% last month. Now we have about 30% of builders that are reporting their price increase falls in about that $5,000 bucket. I think some of this is in response to the buyers' protest and a little bit of that price ceiling being hit. When we talk to builders, we ask them, hey, mortgage rates are low, prices are high, what's going on? What are you seeing? And a couple months ago, we saw 20% of builders say there was some kind of buyer hesitancy that they were paying attention to. Last month, it became 40% of builders saying there was some buyer hesitancy. Now that has jumped up to 54%. Now, interestingly, one of the stats that we like to watch to see if buyers are capping out is how much are people spending on options and upgrades. So you can see on the chart there still is some significant spending on options and upgrades, but we have 22% of builders that have reported a little bit of a decrease. 60% of builders saying no change, 22% saying a decrease in spend. From our conversations on the ground, it's a lot of the markets where prices have gone up real fast, really high. Those are the ones where you've seen more of that buyers capping out and not able to put as much money towards their home. Lumber. We all want to know about what is going on in the lumber space and how that actually trickles down to builders. Well, now we have some results on that front. 15% of builders have reported some kind of lumber relief. 80% of builders said they have not felt any relief on the ground, though they do expect. There's a small amount of builders that think there will be no relief in sight, but again, the majority think the relief will be soon, hopefully in the coming months. So speaking of the supply chain, a little bit of shift on a good news front here is that we had 96% of builders talk about supply disruptions being a huge headache last month. Now it's 91%. So not a significant shift, but you do see a little bit relief on the supply chain side. Very, very, very little. I think a lot of this is anticipatory as well. We know some builders think that in the next 3 to 12 months, they are going to feel some relief. But the last shift that I'll hit on today is that historically, for the past really 6 months, building material costs have been the number one concern for builders. That has now shifted where it's the building material availability. Those are still the top two. Housing affordability, of course, is another concern. That is it for now. I'll be back in July to go through the updates. In the meantime, please go to zondahome.com to learn more. Thank you.